This week, we're looking back at everything the games industry brought us in the year 2023. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. What a year it's been. What a wild ride. What an amazing year in gaming. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me, as always, is a man who has only gotten 99 achievements this year. Is my co-host, Mike. Mike, did you get to 100 yet?
I need to check and see if that's true. Well, if we're talking like... Okay, so this is a pre-record, so probably at this point.
True.
I'd have to imagine I'll get to it by the end of the year. I'm actually home, like, the weekend that we're recording this, I'm actually home. So, I'm hoping to play Cyberpunk.
Hell yeah.
And I'm sure I'll get achievements in that.
There you go. Okay. That's one of those things where it's like when you're on like a cusp number, you know, like 99, right? It's like, oh, you just got to get to 100. Like you even sent it to me. You're like, I guess I gotta get one more achievement because it's like, yeah, you kind of do. Like 99 is too much of a tease.
To be honest with you, you know, in the spirit of you, I wanted to get to 20,000 gamer score by the end of the year.
Oh.
I'm at 19,000 at the time of recording this. I am at 19,302.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, that would take a little bit of work.
That'd be like, well, what? One game is 1,000 gamer score?
Yeah, or like Forza's 2,500.
Oh.
I'm assuming that's with content. Yeah, that's all
Gotcha.
content. But
Okay.
I'm also very close in a bunch of achievements in that game. So that could be one.
Give me the number again. 19,302. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So 700 basically.
Pretty much.
How do you get one achievement score?
Like the reason I have 2 at the end.
Yeah. We've talked about this.
I know DJ Hero was the initial culprit. Because DJ Hero had a bunch of 2 and 3 gamer score achievements.
I mean, straight to jail. Go to jail.
And yeah, they actually did. I think they got rid of like 5 is the lowest now that you can get. Honestly, it might even be 10. I don't know.
It's just such an unsavory number to end on, like to have like a score end on a non-5 or 0.
Yeah.
But to just not have like a nice round number.
Yeah, and it was funny. I remember, and it was apparently futile because I somehow still got off and I have no idea how. I remember looking it up and there were like very few games that had so I had a 2 gamer score. So I needed a game that either gave me a 1 and a 2 or a 3 so I could get to like a regular number, a 0 or a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like going through the internet to figure out what game I'd have to play to get that. And I can't remember what it was, but I think it was like a free Doritos branded game that had exactly a 3 gamer score. And I went into the game, got that achievement, immediately quit and immediately deleted it. Because obviously if I get any more in that game, I'd go back to an odd number.
Right.
And I don't know. Apparently I still got off somewhere. No idea how. Back when I had a Windows phone, you could get achievements in games on that too, and a lot of them were like smaller numbers. So I don't know if something then triggered it.
Ugh. Just terrible.
There was actually, I think it may have been Portal. I think there's a 360 game that at the very beginning of the game, they give you an odd number achievement. And then once you beat the game, they give you like a 1 gamer score achievement.
To like fulfill it or whatever.
Pretty much. I mean, it was like they know how much it pisses people off.
So they're like, you have to finish the game. Like you have to you
Right.
have
It was like
to
as soon as you boot up the game, like one of the first things they do is give you like a 2 gamer score.
It's just achievement unlocked. Gotcha. Oh no.
That's literally what it is. I think it was. I'll have to look it up.
That's so funny. Oh my god. That's great. I love that idea actually.
It's a fun little mechanic.
Yeah.
Pissed
Yeah.
a lot of people off.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's funny from like the outside looking in. But if I were in that position, I know I too would probably be like, "Oh fuck." Oh shit.
I luckily got over it. But yeah, I don't know. I would like to know what gave me that. What put me back off track though.
Yeah. It's just funny because yeah, like you said, now they've like changed it that all the numbers I think have like right, like you said 5 is like the least, but like there's not a thing that would give you 8 gamer score, is there?
Who knows at this point?
Yeah.
Oh my god! I think I found the culprit.
Uh-oh.
In case you wanted to hate this game even more,
Uh-oh.
Redfall
Uh-oh.
has. Oh my god! Fuck this game. They have 17 gamer score achievements.
What?
And the first achievement that I got was a 17 gamer score.
Terrible.
But yeah, again, you have to like 1,000 gamer score the game to get yourself back on track. Well, if you didn't make such a dog shit game, maybe I would have done that.
Damn. Get him.
Because what would I need to do? I would need to get 5 17 gamer score achievements to be back to a regular number.
Yeah,
Like
so,
a 5 or a 0.
So you need to do 4 more at this point.
4 more, yeah.
Which actually, I mean, no, maybe it can happen.
There's a lot of achievements, so I'm sure it's pretty easy to get back. But I just want. Was that Arcane?
Was it?
No,
I thought
Arcane
was Deathloop, right?
No, it's Arcane Austin, so they must have satellite locations.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just want them to know as soon as I get to a regular gamer score, uninstalling.
It's Jover, yeah. Is this the first year? I can't remember. Is this the first year that Xbox did a little like wrap up thing?
They used to do it. Like, I had one year, I think it was like 2017. And they used to like send you a little like it looked like a trophy. There was like a collage, and like depending on what you played, like changed what the trophy looked like.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
And then they gave you a whole update. But I don't remember like I don't know. I saw somebody phrase it like they do this every year.
Mm.
But I don't remember getting one for like probably since 2017.
This is the first time I remember seeing it, but also.
Oh, you know what they did?
Go ahead.
I don't remember if this was last year or the year before that, but they did like a metaverse one.
Okay.
Where you could like walk around and like you had a hub that had all of your achievements. And that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, this was just like a stat sheet. I wonder if it's going to update like until the end of the year. So if I do get 100 achievements, if it'll come through.
So yeah, PlayStation's wrap up, they did say that like, because that's the thing that annoys me about all of these, like, look back at your year. It's like they give it to you on December 1st, and it's like, oh yeah, because December isn't a real month, I guess. And so it's like
Doesn't count.
everything is just like technically wrong, like it's not true necessarily, and I just like it's like something that really bothers me and probably shouldn't. But PlayStation did say that like you'll be able to access your wrap up until the 15th of January and it'll keep updating, or so they say. Um so yeah, I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
let me see if
I
mine says it does.
Mine isn't up to date since I first looked at it. But I don't know how often they'll refresh it, right? Like, so. But
Well, I really thought I got it in an email. Apparently, I didn't. So,
so now you're like, how the fuck do I get back to it?
well, I know I can get back to it on like my. Oh no, I didn't get it on an email. I saw it on Wario64 posted it. God bless that guy.
Yeah, the goat. I really like how Xbox is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm like a nerd and boring, so maybe some people wouldn't like it. But like the Xbox one is just like an infograph, just one pager, and I actually quite like it. At least what was being shared around was like a nice, like succinct, like here's all the hits, like here's the info that you need to hit on. Whereas like PlayStation does it like Spotify, they just like literally mimic the rap, so you have to like click through or like slide through different things, and then they try to do all this like cutesy shit where they're like, hang on, let me find it. Um, they're like, fuck off, come on. Where does it say it? Oh, your gaming style, the GOAT. You spent 22% of your game time on the field calling the shots and chalking up the wins. Like, shut up. Fuck off. No, I didn't. Stop it. Me? But then it is cool because they're like, oh, based on your playstyle, here are games that you should check out. Specifically
I find
tied
this.
to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's kind of cool. Oh yeah, mine says that too. More games like this
Oh.
for like my top game. So of course my top game was Madden. Just a cool 263 hours.
Damn. That's
Yeah.
more time than I've put in all but my top game.
Yeah, that is my top game. So
Right. Yeah.
my number 2 game. Oh, this must be only for the year, which would make sense.
Well, what else would it be for?
Well, I don't know. Like, yeah, this is my like it says time played so far, and like it would make me think that was for all of time. So my top 3 games are one Madden, which that's going to be my New Year's resolution is for that to not be Madden next year. Granted, take this for whatever it's worth. It's still Madden 23. It's not even Madden 24.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's respectable, I guess.
Yeah. Well, then next year will be Madden 24 because I'll add it to Game Pass.
Right.
Starfield is my number 2. 21 hours. And then this is where I got confused.
Wait. How many hours in Starfield?
21.
I'm just making sure I'm hearing you correctly. 21?
Correct.
Like 2-1?
2-1.
So your drop off. Madden was like what, 250 or something like that?
263 to be exact. So yeah, drop off of 242.
Oh my god. I don't know why that's so funny to me.
You know what pisses me off about Madden? I've played it for 263 hours and I have 6 achievements in it. It's not like I do anything else but franchise, but like
Right. Oh my god.
So here's where I got confused. My number 3 game is Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
And I've apparently have played that game for 18 hours this year.
Wow.
Which that feels like more than I would have considering I beat it.
Yeah, but you did have a couple of
Years
weeks there
ago.
where you were like, oh, I booted up Cyberpunk again and I was driving around Cyberpunk. I mean, you had that one week where you had to wrestle with yourself each time you stood up from the couch if you were gonna go get the game or not.
Yeah.
That was like right after you moved, right?
Yeah,
Oh my
that would
god.
have been over a year ago.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, I've been here for almost a year and a half.
Holy shit. Where
Um,
does time go?
somewhere down the toilet, that's for sure. But so I got really confused. I'm like, there's no way that I've like only played Cyberpunk for 18 hours.
I
Like,
gotcha. But so they're probably saying like
this
how
year.
how did they phrase it? Like time spent thus far?
Time played so far,
Time
yeah.
played so far. Like yeah, that's time played this year so far.
Yeah.
Like
that makes
has
sense.
to be because there's no way you played start to finish in Cyberpunk in 18 hours. I think you'd be
Yeah.
on a record in a record book or something.
Yeah, no. I've played Cyberpunk for 4 days, 9 hours, and 18 minutes.
There we go. That's awesome.
Not as good as Madden 23 with a whopping 10 days, 14 hours, and 48 minutes.
Some of that has to just be like sitting in menus.
I don't just simply sit in menus. I'm always working.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
in season like 2045 and I've played every single game from every season.
All right. Chill. This is like totally not. Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of we're talking about our
And
personal
year in review.
journeys. Yeah. Though the other cool thing that the PlayStation wrap up did this year that I actually was a fan of is that they actually showed you what your like most played game was each month, and they like broke down monthly stats.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was pretty neat. Yeah. What wasn't cool was what wasn't cool was MLB The Show came out at the tail end of March and was my game of the month for March, April, May.
I mean, I think the March one is the most like outstanding one.
Yeah, and then June, my game of the month was NBA because I believe that's when we were giving it for free for PS Plus, and then it was also my top game for July. So I think yeah, I think I had a sports game because WWE was my top game for January. So
Wow.
I had a sports game um for half of the months. But also, MLB was only for 3 of the months. So I feel like, not bad. It's just very easy when you do get a sports game, as you know, when you do get a sports game, like, because there's like, it's like just, it's so repeatable, right? Like, the replayability of any sports game is technically like one of the best values because, yeah, you just keep going. You don't even think about it. You're like, oh, yeah, I'll just play a game of basketball, I'll play a game of football, whatever. And next thing you know, you're in the year 2045 and you've played every single game.
Yeah.
That's you.
I have moved the New York Jets twice.
Nice.
My franchise quarterback is about to retire. And I think the only remaining real player or coach in the game is my coach because I still have Robert Saleh as my head coach.
Okay. All right.
We've won like 15 Super Bowls. We have 6 or 7 undefeated seasons.
I love it.
And I'm not playing on easy.
There you go. That's what it's all about, right? Are you having fun? That's all that matters.
Unfortunately, I am.
Okay, maybe it's not all that matters.
Mindless.
All right, let's talk about. Oh, you know what? Actually, wait. One more thing. I have news for you that is very important and relevant to this year. Since we recorded the the episode that was for this week, not to get too fucky, and in that episode, I said to you, I don't know if I'll have 69 platinums before we are like done recording for the year, but not necessarily before it's December 15th to clear the air. So as we're talking right now, and I have a very important news. I did in fact get to 69 platinums. Platinum number 67 was Human Fall Flat, which I can't even remember. Did I talk about? Yeah, I did. I talked about how like it was fucky when we were trying to like do it originally, but because we had done all the cleanup stuff, we literally just had to run through every single level. Which, I mean, you can do some really fucky stuff in Human Fall Flat to get to the end level. Then I got it in Saints Row the Third Remastered. Love that game so much. And then I finished it up with number 69. Jumped back into Spider-Man 2. Ran around the bases on the baseball field. I think the trophy's like home run or some shit. And then the platinum popped.
Best way to walk it off.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Great baseball metaphor. Walked it off. Yeah. So there you go. 69 platinums.
Wow. How's it feel?
I mean, you know, Shelby and I were joking about it. Because, you know, I was putting a lot of, whether you want to believe it or not, I was putting a lot of thought into how I was going to get here. And I was trying to map it out so that, like, I was affording myself enough time, but also still getting the chance to play, you know, games that I genuinely wanted to, like, play, like Baldur's Gate 3, which has been on my back burner for the longest time. And, yeah, and then to finally get there, and it's just like, yeah, all right. I did it. It's kind of funny. Again, put in probably more effort into like thinking about how I was going to get there and making sure I had the right path than I did actually just getting there. But you know, it's always nice when you set a goal for yourself and then succeed.
Yeah. And now you get a trophy, which I wish I would have been more prepared for because I could have brought it next week.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Well,
okay.
I was teasing you. I was, you know, back and forth. Oh, will I? Won't I? You know, I did. So.
Well, that's fine. I'll have to fly down to you and like, I'll
oh
my
no.
carry-on will be my carry-on will be a big metal case. Like massive. Like it'll look like it's holding the Stanley Cup.
Great. It's just like a tiny little shot glass trophy.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this.
Oh no, we might have to hang out another time. Darn.
Yeah, that sucks, huh?
Or
worst case, I'll ship it.
Brilliant. So there's that. But let's actually
confetti's flying everywhere in my office.
Great.
I actually don't know why.
I think you accidentally rigged it for your place when you meant to rig it for my place back up in Boston.
That makes sense. Oh no, I'm certain I did your house in Boston. Those people are shocked.
All right, let's talk about the actual year. We've talked about it and it's been covered. Short amount of times that this year has been absolutely insane for releases, and there's been so many strong contenders. You know, we just talked about the Game Awards a couple weeks ago, and you know, like what an incredible lineup that was, right? And like how it was hard to kind of figure out the clear cut winner there, even at the end, even though it was like two strong contenders. You know, at the end of the day, there were two, or obviously with any award, one that does stand out above the rest. But especially considering like years past, this was definitely a really tough one, and it just felt like every other week. You know, if you were on Twitter or something, and you're like within like the gaming sphere of or gaming like news cycle and stuff like that, that something else was releasing, some other major game, and people were constantly updating like their game of the year lists starting back in like July. That's how like it was already becoming kind of like clear what games could be in the talks. And then we just had like such a crazy run there towards the end, right? Like Baldur's Gate 3 came out for PC, but then it came out for console for PlayStation 5 on the same day as Starfield, which obviously had a ton of hype around it and was talked about a ton. And then you had Super Mario Wonder and Spider-Man 2 release on the same exact day. You had Phantom Liberty come out in between there. Like this tail end of the year was also just absolutely insane. And then after all of those games came out, you had Alan Wake 2 come out the week. I think it was a week or 8 days after Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Wonder, right? So it was just absolutely nuts. All the releases. And then there's all, this is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. So while you talk about the good, you also have to talk about the bad. Obviously this year was terrible, absolutely terrible in terms of layoffs across the industry. Just this past week, as we're talking, Hasbro let go of like 1,000 people from the Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons team, like a ton of the team that worked with Larian, who are the creators of Baldur's Gate 3. Like so many of the people that like helped in so many different ways to get that game to be what it was are no longer like working. A game that won Game of the Year, right? And then I also just saw. Sorry.
Sorry, I just want to add to that. This is also a year where like Hasbro and Mattel, like these really old brands, are trying to find ways to stay relevant.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, you found the way to do that with. I mean, Hasbro had both Baldur's Gate and the Dungeons and Dragons movie, both of which were incredibly successful.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, you just, there's nowhere else you can go from there. There's no reason to retain that team.
And
like,
not to get like not to get too on my soapbox, but like maybe it starts at the top where one person is bringing in almost $1 billion themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, just maybe.
They didn't heed the warning of Mattel and the Barbie movie making fun of all those CEOs.
Right. So, just terrible. And then also, I don't know if you just saw, this was like yesterday. Again, we're recording on the 15th. Embracer, two companies that are under Embracer's umbrella, just suffered like massive layoffs. I don't know what the exact numbers were. It's just,
didn't they just like get rid of a team like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, or they like shuttered a studio not too long ago.
Yeah, I think it was a studio.
You had Epic lay off like the entire team of I don't want to get names wrong. Media Molecule, is that right?
Media Molecule is a Sony.
Okay, so not them. The team I think
people
that
make Little Big Planet.
I think it was the team behind Fall Guys that Epic had like bought or acquired, and then they ended up letting most of them go, I think. I don't know. I don't have the
Oh yes,
the thing in front of me.
Mediatonic.
Mediatonic, thank you.
Close, yeah.
Just
funny because that was only a team of like 6 people.
Right, like a smaller team. Yeah, exactly.
I guess nobody's really playing that game anymore, but
it's just and but then like you just see things where it's like there was something that came out recently about like why isn't Fortnite compatible on the Steam Deck? And the response was like, well, if we had like 1,000 more programmers, like we could make it happen, but like as of right now it's like a Linux issue. And it's just like, bro, like you did not just say if we had all the people we just laid off, like it's just it's so incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, I maybe it was just, and I'm not backing it up at all, but like in my head, well, how many people actually have the Linux based Steam Deck? Like it feels like most people have the Windows version.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like they're probably just saying, well, the few players that'll play on Steam Deck is not really worth the squeeze.
Yeah, but it's just it's like the wording of it all that's just like kind of like makes you like face palm. So yeah, so you have like that, and then there have been just a couple of like I don't know, you can see like good like ways that the industry's like moving in good directions and stuff like that, and then at the same time you can kind of see some like bad habits that are happening, right? So in an effort to kind of like give ourselves guide rails to some degree, I figured we could kind of go like back and forth, like, here's something that's like not so great. Here's something that we think is great, and then until we feel like we've done a good enough job talking about this year. So, this is kind of the softball question that I thought would be perfect for us to talk about something. Is there a trend in gaming right now, Mike, that you see as bad? That like everybody is maybe trying to do this trend, to some degree. And maybe they should have.
Other than laying people off.
uh, yes, obviously, other than doing that.
It's hard to say, and honestly, I think my answer does revolve around laying people off. While we've seen a bunch of really good games the past year, I also feel like we're starting to feel the effect of COVID, in which like the teams that didn't or had to delay a project, Sea of Stars for or not Sea of Stars, sorry, Skull and Bones, for example, like they took their time, and I don't know what that game's gonna look like when it comes out, honestly. Um, but we've seen so many bad games in the past year, like Gollum. Like, what was it? The past week or 2 weeks as of recording. So we're talking, early December on IGN. There was 4 games, and there was one of each ranked 1 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like we were getting to the point of like mismanagement from these studios and saying like, okay, well we've already spent so much time on these games, even though like there was probably a lot of turnover on the teams, and we started this 3 years ago. So who knows like the how many times we had to change technology just to produce this game. But I think a bad trend I saw was just like these unfinished COVID games coming out.
Yeah.
And then just absolutely flopping and laying everybody off. Like, granted, I guess, at least people had jobs for 3 years, but I'm sure like it's not exactly a resume builder.
Right.
Um,
Right. And then you're like forced to rush out this unfinished, unpolished game because they just finally say like, this is it. And now like it reviews poorly. And like, again, like these are things that always like fall back on like like it's the devs' fault, right? Like it's the team that built the game's fault. And it's like, well, no, like more often than not, like if you can't like look above them and look at like the leadership and the decision making that happened that was above their head, like you're crazy.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
that's
I
a
think
great call out.
I think I think the well is kind of running dry there. I think we're finally getting to the point where like other than massive like studio games, like whatever Kojima's working on, things that'll be 10-year projects before they even come out, like they're building for next gen. Like I think the well's kind of running dry there, and so we'll probably see less of that in 2024. And yeah, I have another point that kind of fits along, but I think it could also like be a talking point later, so I'll hold on it.
Gotcha. Yeah, just real quick to like wrap up. I agree with what you're saying because, while I personally get frustrated about delays and not from the standpoint of like, oh, I want this game, give it to me, right? Like, I get frustrated because it's like I just wish they would be smarter about like setting like benchmarks and stuff like that, which, whatever. I do feel like this is a positive, which is teams are more willing, it seems, to push off and delay release for certain things, games, DLC, stuff like that, to ensure that there is a level of polish there. And again, I just wish that they like awarded themselves that time because that like it's never like a decision to like, oh, we're working normal hours and we're noticing that we cannot hit this deadline. It's like we're getting close to the deadline. We're now working twice as much and oh fuck, we're gonna miss it. Let's kick it. And it's like, whatever. So I do kind of agree with what you're saying though, that like you don't see this happen quite that often because there's at least some level again of polish at the end of the day. Not to say that every game releases perfectly because we know that's not the case. A trend that I am seeing that I think is bad is this full tilt into live service. Not to say that live service games are bad necessarily. I'll say live service, and I'll also say games that require you to be online. And so I call that out for two reasons. I call both portions out for two reasons. So one, we just got news that Naughty Dog is canceling the Last of Us Online game.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, their reasoning was that they realized how much like effort and time and energy was going to need to be put into this game that their choice was to either become a games as a service studio or to maintain their single player experiences. That's crazy. That's insane to me. That's insane to me that is the ultimatum or the choice that had to be made, because there used to be a world where you could have your cake and eat it too, which is to say you could be single player and have a multiplayer aspect. I mean, Call of Duty still technically does that, right? Like every Call of Duty game used to be like that. But then to take it a step further, all Uncharted's except the first, I believe, had an online mode.
That's I mean, I can't remember if the first did or not, but yeah, 2 through 4 did.
You know what I mean? It's like, were those on?
They were quite good.
I was about to say, were all of those online modes good in every single game that seemed to have that like additional like thing? No.
I mean,
but were some of them impressive? Like, I mean, Tomb Raider gets like a lot of like praise for how its online like multiplayer was. Uncharted does. Last of Us, the first Last of Us had people raving about it. It's why people were clamoring for them to do another. It's crazy that it's like you either have to be, again, like full tilt live service, constantly updating and stuff like that, and that we can't just have like, honestly, dude, I would be fine if they just tried, and if it's dog shit and you still give the amazing single player experience, it's like a sweetener, right? Like, oh, what's this, multiplayer? Oh, I'll try it. Oh, this sucks. Anyway, the game was great though. Fine.
Right.
Or
you always shut the servers off.
Right. Or it's a gem, right? And it's great, and it's like, wow, not only did I get this amazing single player experience, I also get to play in this online mode that's like surprisingly fun and like and great. It's crazy that like you have to be again, like it has to be this, like you have a content schedule and like every other week you're releasing a new update that does this, and it changes the power of the guns, and there's this meta now that you have to fall into, and like, oh, you have to do X, Y, and Z this week, only this week. And it's crazy. Like there's so many of these types of games that demand so much of your attention week to week that it's like the well is going to run dry. It's going to get to a state where it's like impossible to even have a base. And then you're going to say like, oh, see, it's not worth it. And it's like, no, but that's not all online can be. And it's not all online is.
See, I do think it is all online is at this point.
Yeah, at this point, but that's not all it needs to be.
No, but maybe to us.
True.
I don't know. If you ask me, we're at kind of a fulcrum point in gaming where there are studios that are only doing online games, and they're doing them incredibly well. 100% of their resources are towards that experience. Mm-hmm. They don't need to worry about spending 10 years on building a story. We got our engine. Let's work on partnership deals for brands. And the game is free, and you're buying in-game currency at an inflated rate. Like that has proven in the past 5 years that model works. And like, if you ask me, if you're The Last of Us, you're not going to beat Fortnite.
Right.
You're not going to beat Call of Duty Warzone. You're not going to beat Apex. And I feel like you're wasting talent if you're a Naughty Dog and you're trying to compete with those games.
100%.
Like, just stick to story. And it's funny, Sony talked about how, oh, we're going to have 12 live service games over however many years it was, 4 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And
it just like it just it's going to be a flop. I mean, I don't get the business model. I do think they're going to kind of veer away from it. but there are game studios that are only doing these games, and they're the ones that are always going to win. People don't have the attention span for
Mhm.
5 different live service games. They want the one that's popular. They want the one that everyone's playing. You can come out with one. I mean, look at Fall Guys. Fall Guys was awesome for like 6 months, and it
God,
was while
if
there was
that,
a huh?
if that, right? Like
Yeah,
it blew
yeah. I
up
was
and then
being
fell
generous,
off. Yeah.
and like it just depends on the status of Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite fell off for a year, I would say, or if not more. But they've got all of that back. They figured out their model.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, you need to have new content every week. You need to change the game every week. And that's a 24/7 job.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you can accomplish a good live service game and also try to create a um
Like a single player experience still.
yeah, yep.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but like, I'm not even saying the online portion of it would need to be. Like, I think you would get people who are more likely to play single player experiences to dip their toes into like a multiplayer mode like they used to give. And so I just don't understand why that's not something that's achievable, why that is something that has just been like completely like taken out. I guess like because of the fact that like games as a service and live service games have like blown up to the degree that they have. Um, and then my other portion, or yeah, the other portion of it, is that always needing to be online. And I don't know if you saw, but the crew is like gonna shut off servers, and like some games, I kind of get it, right? Where it's just like, whatever. Like Destiny, I guess. But with a game that is literally just racing, I don't know. And even Destiny, I really wouldn't understand it, right? Because you can play Destiny on your own. But man, I hate this. Like I hate that it's like, oh, these servers are going to shut off. They're delisting the game so you can't buy it anymore. And the game's just not going to exist. Like in May of next year, the crew will effectively not exist. And that just sucks. I hate that. I hate that that's like also this like trend of like digital media and stuff and you can brick a game basically.
Yeah, because it's still a good single player experience.
Right. I mean, it's a racing game. What does it matter?
Right. Yeah. Like, are they going to do that with Forza?
I don't know. I guess eventually, maybe. Probably not.
I hope not. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it just sucks. That's another trend that I've seen that is, I think, a really bad one, and I'm not a fan. I think that's enough bad for now, at least. Unless you had something else present in mind, I figure we can at least talk about a little good, maybe.
Yeah, let's talk about some good.
Okay, so what's something from this year, whether it's a trend or something like that, that you see as necessary all around good for gaming?
I think the um, returning to more medians to play.
Mm.
So, namely handheld.
Mm-hmm.
I just think like the continued success of the Switch, the excitement for Switch 2, Steam Deck, and then all of the other like essentially handheld Windows PCs that you can play games on. Um, there's that, and then I think just beginning of December, Microsoft is updating the Xbox app to make it more mobile friendly, mobile being like Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love that the industry is starting to buy back into that, and I am really and I don't know what this means. The past 3 years we've talked a ton about cloud gaming. Um, and it almost feels like that's falling off, and people are saying, no, we want physical game in our hands.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to rely on the internet. We just want, like, we just want hardware that's good enough to play a game and it be enjoyable. Like, it doesn't need to be spectacular graphics. Like, you don't need a 4080 in your hand. They just want it to be playable and enjoyable. And I think we're kind of leaning in that direction.
Yeah, it's definitely something that companies seem more willing to lean into, and I think as like more attempt to get into it, it should only help it grow. I mean, the Steam Deck was obviously an all around hit after how amazing the Switch had done. That yeah, like it's here to stay. To what extent, maybe we don't know just yet, but like I think like you said, we're gonna keep seeing them lean into it. One good trend that I would say, and this is something that's kind of always happened, but I don't know, maybe it's just more present in mind. Um, and this is more so directed at Nintendo and PlayStation because Xbox has been good about it with their backwards compatibility within their console. Um, but leaning into like just porting old games and finding ways to get it so that you can play older games on this current hardware. So like with Nintendo, it's like the Nintendo Switch Online, and then you have the whole catalog of do they have N64 games on there now?
Yeah, I think that's the latest. Well, unless you include like Game Boy Advance, that's like the latest
Right.
generation.
Right. But that's the other cool thing, right? Like Game Boy Advance games are on there and Game Boy games, Nintendo, SNES, right? Like so it's just awesome, right? And the NES and SNES have been a part of it for some time, but it's just really cool. Like, to so many people who are just now getting into games and stuff are never really going to have the opportunity to go back and play some of these games that like really shaped and formed gaming, right? Like you can draw a line from, you know, the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask or, one of those Zelda games and see how it got to, here. And, a remake and a remaster are great at times to try and modernize it and bring it a little bit more up to speed with current times. But there is still something so great about playing it in its like true form and original form. Um, and I think just like opening up the library and making it a bit more accessible, right? Like you obviously can on PlayStation buy like a PS1 classic game, but if you are on the highest tier of PlayStation Plus, you have like an entire catalog of some of like PlayStation's own in-house hits, and then like just additional ones that they find and add in. So that's a trend that I'm really happy with. And I honestly would rather they keep trying to just port over games for the most part instead of just trying to like phone it in on a remaster. A remake, on the other hand, I'm like all in about because if you're building something back from the ground up to modern standards, that's awesome. Like those games are sometimes like some of the coolest ways to experience a story that you haven't had the opportunity to. Remasters kind of just feel lazy sometimes.
Yeah, just like, hey, you want to rebuy this game you already bought 3 times?
Kind of looking at the
And that's
GTA trilogy, where it's like,
that is a sorry, go on.
no, yeah, it's just kind of like,
That is a trend that bothers me. Like, I don't necessarily mind like the Nintendo model of it's part of our subscription. This is the catalog, like you can go in and play it. But like I feel that the more we're allowing like the GTA remakes, I guess we'll call them,
mm-hmm.
to happen, like people aren't building games right now with longevity in mind.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just that frustrates me that that's going to be perpetuated.
No, I hear you.
But yeah, I'm curious, what somebody's thoughts, like who never played, who didn't start playing games till like say PS3 or even PS4, PS5, whatever. What it looks like to play a Nintendo 64 game for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Because like for me, it's a little hard. Of course, like I grew up playing Nintendo 64, so like it's I'm fighting through the nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
But and I mean, fortunately, like the Switch does do a good job of like scaling things correctly. Like it looks way better than if you just plug a Nintendo 64 into a big TV.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I love the idea of being able to play a Nintendo 64 game, but I seldom do it because it's just difficult for me.
Yeah, I hear you. That's actually something I don't know if I've talked to you about it, but like that's something that I'm planning on doing in the year 2024 is like Shelby and I are gonna really dive into this entire like gaming catalog that I've been able to build up, and we're gonna start on the SNES and just like work our way towards modern gaming. All the while, when I'm playing games, I'm going to still be playing the PS5. So I'm going to be giving myself like whiplash because I'm going to be literally going from like either end of the like gaming spectrum, basically. But I'm like really excited to do it. Like, I'm really excited to like go back and, like I said, play these games that kind of like formed gaming today.
Yeah.
Newfound appreciation. And it'll also be exciting to like take, because like there's going to be games that I have played, but like to like take Shelby on that journey through some of these old games. We had her on last week, and she's not the biggest gamer, so it's
all I'm gonna say is if Nintendo adds GameCube this year, it's over.
It's over. It's over. 100%.
There will be no other games played.
Oh yeah, dude! What a generation! What a console! Let's see. Is there something that like really sticks out in your mind as like your kind of like favorite moment from gaming this year?
My favorite moment from gaming this year. Well, I mean the Division Blizzard acquisition just being over.
Yeah.
That was pretty sweet. Now no one's really talking about it. I mean, honestly, it was the good parts of the year in aggregate. Like this year has felt like I don't know. I couldn't even tell you the last time a year felt this good in gaming. Like 2014, maybe.
Oh, do you want to hear a crazy number that I tried to like figure out? So I went on Metacritic, which isn't like the end all be all by any means. But I wanted to see how many games this year released and had a score. And now this, granted, it does include like if there was a remaster, a remake, or DLC. So like all of these scores, you take that into consideration technically. There were 144 games released. I think it was 144 with an 80 or higher on Metacritic. And just compared to last year, it's 30 more games.
Wow.
Which like, I mean, 100 like or more right in like a year is like crazy, But yeah, absolutely nuts to see just year over year 30 additional games receive an 80 or higher. And I think like this year had 4 games that received a 94 plus. Last year it was just Elden Ring and God of War before they like immediately like fell back down to just like 90 in general. I think, trying to see here real quick, 16 games this year received a 90 or higher on Metacritic. Which you would think that like a 90 plus is like a bona fide must play essentially. Yeah. And then an 80 plus I consider like this is a really good game. So yeah, just absolutely nuts. just absolutely nuts for releases, and I wanted to make sure I got that in there.
No, that's an awesome statistic, and this is solely based on observation, but I'm sure you could, you might be able to find the data to back it. It feels like year over year, people are more critical of games as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fact that we're, into another year and yet there are more games with higher ratings, um, really feels like an accomplishment for the industry.
Definitely. Yeah, I think like for me, something that really sticks out, and again, kind of goes hand in hand with like the fact that like you just had so many like bona fide must plays get released this year. But like three games that got a lot of love, that like one game I didn't even know was coming out, and maybe that's like a shame on me instance, but like Sea of Stars
Mm-hmm.
kind of just came out of nowhere, at least for me, and then just to instantly see all the love it was getting, awesome. Pikmin 4
Hell yeah.
getting as much love as it did, like I don't know, maybe that's like a shame on me sort of thing for not knowing better, but like it like kind of surprised me. Like it's awesome, right? And then the last one being Hi-Fi Rush, which Hi-Fi Rush was awesome too because it was like a almost like a shadow drop, right? I don't know if it
It
was like,
was.
was it like a, they had the announcement and then they were like, and you can play it later this day. Was it like to that level?
It was. Here is a new game we're working on, and also turn on your Xbox. Like
It's
it did
there.
not. It did not leak
Yeah.
at all. Like no one knew it was being built, and no one knew it was ready. It was honestly like unheard of in modern day of game development.
Yeah, and all three of those games received an 87 on Metacritic too. And so like not only was like the public reception of them like just like, I haven't seen a negative thing, I don't think, about any of the games. But then to just also like to see it backed by like critical ratings and stuff like that, just so awesome, right? Like like incredible stuff. So that's something that really sticks out in my mind. Again, amidst all the, I kind of gave the quick and dirty where it's just like 14 games slash expansion slash other stuff, but like 14 releases received a 90 plus, and yet amidst that, like you still had these like smaller, kind of out of nowhere games fighting for that attention as well, which is just great to see. Um, what else can be said about this year? Do you have, I guess, like on a more personal note, do you have a game that you played this year that sticks out as your favorite? Doesn't even have to be a release from this year necessarily, but
I wish I could tell you, like, frankly, if I would have been able to put the time into playing it, I would probably say Cyberpunk.
okay.
Um, and like it was one of those really strange years with a lot of distractions, and I just kind of want to like shout out a couple of games like Starfield. I put over 20 hours into like once I started playing it.
Hmm.
Uh, and then just like that fell off for me, so it's like hard to say that that was my favorite. Um, and it might be recency bias, but in terms of like games that I started and it drew me in immediately, and I loved the look and feel of it. I loved the gameplay. The story was charming. Like, um, and I would say that like Jusant is up there.
Awesome.
Like hard because it's a I think it took me like 2 hours and 40 minutes to beat,
Hmm.
which like does not constitute a good or bad game. Like I would absolutely go back in and keep playing it. But hey, there was something about Jusant where there wasn't really any hype. There wasn't really any expectation.
Hmm.
I saw one gameplay demo for it. I think it was like at the Tribeca Game Fest.
Hmm.
And it came out. It was on Game Pass, and I was like, I'm just gonna play this game, and like um one of those games where I was like, you know what, this is just like exactly what I want right now. Um I would say that is probably like the one game I played this year where I went, this is an awesome game. I can't put this down. And I just ripped through it.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just need that, right? Like you need a game that just fits perfectly what you need in that moment. And then you
yeah.
find something that does it so well. So I hear you.
Um and then I think just the other game I want to call out in terms of not something like going like this time last year when we're talking about like what we're looking forward to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't think I would have ever said that like, oh, I'm looking forward to Pikmin 4.
Yeah.
Um I had never played a Pikmin game before Pikmin 4. I was always like interested in the original Pikmin on GameCube, and we maybe like rented it at a Blockbuster Video for a weekend. But that game surprised me with how much I liked it. Like I think Pikmin is probably like my number two Nintendo IP now,
Wow. That's awesome. I love it.
behind Metroid, of course. But I was shocked, and I think that game, the reason I haven't beat it yet is because I don't want to.
Yeah. I hear you.
Like I'm very slowly chewing my way through it because I don't want it to be over.
Yeah.
But of course, I think I don't remember if I already bought it or like I meant to ask for Christmas, but I'm gonna go back and do like the Pikmin 2 and or 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought Pikmin 3 when you were visiting me for Wii U. So a new franchise I've fallen in love with.
It's awesome. Love that. Love when you find
How about you?
like a hidden gem almost.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like it still doesn't get all the credit it deserves.
Yeah. For me, man, it's tough because like you said, like recency bias will obviously play a major role. And so whatever's been kind of like current for me. I'm trying to like force myself to think back. I believe I believe this was the year that I like played Cult of the Lamb like for the first time. Um Maybe I'm wrong about that, but man, like that's something that definitely like sticks out about a game where like I played it and was just like constantly like thinking about that game and like how much fun it is, right? And then like
Mhm.
going more recent, like to go for something that actually came out this year, like I mean, man, like one, I'm just really happy with myself that I played half of the games that were nominated for Game of the Year, which was like I think my New Year's goal last year was to try and play more Game of the Year contenders, and I played probably 0 last year. So I'm happy that I played half of them this year, and I have all the intentions in the world to play two of the others, Alan Wake 2, and uh, eventually I'll be a Zelda guy. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Sea of Stars and Baldur's Gate 3, I think probably like take the cake for me just because of like, man, once I was playing those, it's like all I wanted to play. Like they were just so much fun. And like Baldur's Gate 3, I remember when I first played it, like I said to you, I was like, this is like one of those games that I can stay up until 3 a.m. playing. And like I don't feel that way about too many games. Um and then to give like Nintendo love like you did, I mean like Super Mario Wonder. Ugh, what an incredible game, right? Like almost like a perfect game for me. You know, potentially something that I actually would have said is my like actual game of the year. Just because again, like when you have a game that like fits the moment and it does exactly what you need it to do, it's like hard to feel any better way about another game. So
Yeah, it's the year that Nintendo had. Like,
stupid.
I don't like. I don't think that I could have gone into this year and say like Nintendo's going to be my winner for the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I I honestly I think they were. I mean, I would say out of all the games that came out this year that I played from like that were major games, like I'd probably say that Pikmin 4 is my game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, and I know a couple of people online said like some people were saying Pikmin 4 deserved the spot in GOTY conversations over Wonder, which is like crazy, you know, like um I think it's one of those things where it falls to Mario's name power a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know
Could
if you
you imagine? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Could you imagine if the game of the year nominees this year had Zelda, Pikmin, and Mario?
That would be, yeah, that's what I mean, like that would be nuts. But like wasn't that like that far fetched? It's not that far fetched of an idea, you know what I mean?
No, I mean I feel like they felt like they needed to have variety, but I I would frankly put it over like Pikmin 4 over like Resident Evil 4.
Yeah. And that was the other point I was going to make is that like, you know, we talk about the amazing year Nintendo had. Metroid Prime Remastered came out this year too, which again was like closer to a remake than a remaster. So that's also something to remember. But at one point this year, I don't know if you remember this, it was probably, let me see what the release dates of all these were. So it was probably right around June 2nd. So about halfway through the year. I want to say like 4 of the top 5 games on Metacritic for the year were The Legend of Zelda, Metroid Prime Remastered, Resident Evil 4, and Street Fighter 6. So 2 Nintendo games and 2 Capcom games, which was just kind of like that was also like a nostalgia punch where it's just like, oh wow, like the top of the industry is Capcom and Nintendo again. It was just very like funny,
Yeah.
and kind of an awesome moment. Okay, I know we're getting close to needing to wrap up. So real quick, what is your gaming goal for next year?
I before I do that, I do need to um honor one thing that happened this past year
Oh, please.
that I just remembered. I need to do an in memoriam,
Oh no.
really, just for Stadia,
Oh, no,
because
that's
believe it or not,
crazy.
that was January of this year,
That is insane.
and now that I'm talking about it, that was probably, I mean, it wasn't my favorite memory of this year Stadia shutting down, but staying up until like whatever it was, 3:26 a.m.
Yeah, for the shutdown.
for the shutdown. Like it was just so nice to like stay up pretty much all night and play video games. I haven't done that in 10 years. But yeah, rip Stadia. Somehow the only cloud gaming casualty of this year.
Yeah.
Major one. But
Wow, I can't believe that was this year still. Crazy.
yeah. Um but anyway, my gaming goal for 2024, like obviously playing less Madden is the low hanging fruit. Um I really just need to, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's it. Like I just need to like play other games, and I also want to play at least 50% of the game of the year nominees.
Oh, going for the Spencer benchmark, I see.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's
I like
tough.
that.
You know, like you never know in the moment when you're playing a game, right? Unless you like wait for the nominees to be announced and then you buy the 3 games that you're most interested from that list
Yeah.
and then play them quickly before the award is given out.
I mean, I could also do it retroactively. Like, I could play Alan Wake 2 and finally play Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I'd play from that list. But yeah, I don't. I just want to play more games that aren't just like mindless sports games.
Yeah.
Get through some of my backlog. I at least want to get through like my Series X backlog, like my current generation. It's too daunting to think back on my lifetime backlog.
Yes, I know. That's kind of where mine goes, though. Like, I kind of mentioned it, but like going back and playing some of these like really old games is something that I'm really looking forward to doing. Um, but while also trying to stay, like, I don't want it to be one of those things where it's like, well, I just played, Super Mario RPG in its original form. So now when I'm jumping back to current gen, I'm just gonna play MLB, right? Like, kind of to your point, where it's like not letting myself get too sucked into really, it's really sports games, right? Because getting sucked in and putting in 100 hours into Cyberpunk is, to me, much more fulfilling and worth it than putting in 450 some hours or whatever it was into MLB. Though,
Right.
unlike you, I do have a lot of time just spent in the menus. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I will also say that another goal of mine, and I don't know if it'll be this year. Maybe I'll dip my toes, but I do want to try and like get in on the ground floor of a like live service game. So if there's one that comes out this year that like seems enough up my alley, I do want to try and like get in and be a part of that experience. Because I do at times get jealous, like looking at how some games are. So, all
I
right,
know.
so we'll have to keep ourselves, we'll have to hold each other accountable to this, Mike,
Yeah.
or we'll forget.
Mhm.
Who cares? Um,
Do you remember your goal was last year? I don't.
I honestly don't. I know one of the years it was to play more nominees. So,
I
um,
think mine last year was probably play more indie games. That's like what was clicking in my head.
yeah, honestly, that could be one. Like, go back and play all the indie games that were nominated this year that I definitely didn't get around to playing, which is devastating, honestly. So, all right. Well, that does it for this week, and that does it for the year. So, thank you all
Bye, year.
so much for sticking with us for the entire year. If you joined midway, thanks for that too. As always, if you could leave us a rating or a review wherever you did listen to this podcast, it'd be greatly appreciated. Hope you have or had a wonderful holiday season. Hope you have a wonderful start to your new year. And yeah, other than that, we will see you in 2024. Share it with a friend and see you then.